Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our session today. This is called our Apple Brown Bag session on MacBook accessibility tools. My name is David Serna. I'm also joined by my wonderful colleague, Pat Kittrell.
Hello, everyone.
How are you doing today, Pat?
How you doing today, David? I'm doing great.
I am good, right? It's not as hot today as it has been.
A lot of rain last night, David.
A lot of rain, so that fresh air, which I love, right? So thank you so much. Pat and I are really pleased to be leading this webinar. We hope that you really learn a lot from the webinar and also contribute some of your own tips and tricks that you have when you're using a MacBook. So our ultimate goal for our session today is really about creating learning experiences designed to empower every student. When we're thinking about the ways that we design our courses or the way we present information, such as today, thinking about how do we make it more accessible for our students. Anything to add, Pat?
Yes, and just to add on to that, making things more accessible to our students. Also, some students may be actually using the Mac. So a lot of these things that we're going to cover today will allow you to help them as well. So.
You got it, right? And just a quick overview of some of the Zoom functions here. We do have a small group, but just to go over this very briefly, you can unmute at any time if you have a question, or you can just start your video. We'd love to see you. You can use the chat box throughout. We'll be going ahead and monitoring that throughout the webinar. And also reactions. You can show me some love, happy faces, things like that. Makes us smile. If you do want to change the skin tone of your icons, go ahead and click on the reactions button on your toolbar. You'll see those 3 dots in the lower right corner. That's how you can change your skin tone. So just some functions here to show some love and appreciate it. Thank you so much. So let's go over our agenda for our webinar today. First, we'll go over an overview and have a quick discussion on why is accessibility so important, especially in education. We'll talk about an optimization of accessibility tools, and Pat will walk you through some of the most used features and how to turn them on and how to use them. And we'll talk about utilizing features of Safari. I'll walk you through on how to use Safari Reader, as well as save your text as an MP3 or audio file and upload that to Blackboard. So anytime you're showing content, specifically articles or PDFs, how to show the PDF plus have the audio there on Blackboard. And then we'll go over some next steps and Q&A. So first in the chat box, or if you'd like to go ahead and unmute, why is it important to use accessibility tools when teaching? Fatma, go ahead. Hi, Fatma.
Hi.
Hey, Fatma.
Hi. To incorporate everyone and to make it the design, universal design for learning.
Excellent. Yeah, that is something that we are really emphasizing here on the C.A.L team is once you make it accessible, it's accessible for everyone, for all learners, and can really help them to comprehend and use that information even more effectively. Right?
Yeah.
Anyone else? And as we wait, I just want to go over some of the icons on the bottom. We have blind and or visually impaired, deaf and or hearing impaired, colorblind or those prone to seizures, and people with physical limitations that require keyboard navigation. So we hope that throughout our webinar today, what we go over can really meet all the learning needs for all of our students here on campus. Right? But yeah, anything to add, Pat, to this?
Nope. I'll just add.
Yeah, no problem. So Pat will go over Zoom, keyboard shortcuts, hover over text, also display with the pointer and trackpad with Zoom.
Yes, so again, these features here, the Zoom feature, keyboard shortcuts, and hover over text, display pointer, I guess on the Windows would be like your cursor, and then the trackpad feature, how to use that Zoom function as well. So one thing I want to note about these features is that at least with the if you can go back to that slide, David.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I want to note is that these features, not only are they good for students to be able to use, but you can also use them in your course. If you're they're great for if you're doing a live presentation or if you're in your classroom, being able to zoom in on certain aspects of your content, whether it's a presentation or a picture, some text. It's good to be able to do those things very quickly, very smoothly. So the shortcuts will definitely come in handy. And if you're using a MacBook like me, the trackpad zoom is very useful as well. So you can go to the next slide, David. So how do we access accessibility, the accessibility app? So we go to our Apple icon, which you see on the upper left-hand corner. Once we select that, we're gonna go to System Preferences, and that's gonna open up the System Preferences box, dialog applications box, and from that, we can select accessibility. All right. Any questions about that so far? All right. Next slide, David.
Mhm.
Okay, so once we select accessibility, as you can see, Zoom is highlighted, and as you can see, right from the top screen, if I hit the checkbox where it says Use Keyboard Shortcuts, I can turn the Zoom feature on and off. Okay, but I like to use it, so I have it checked here. So the first function is the toggle zoom, and the way we would access that is we use the Option key, Command key +8. And that allows us to toggle between our Zoom content and our regular view. So once we zoom into a particular area of a document, and then we hit the toggle zoom feature, we can toggle between those two, and I'll demonstrate that later. So that's the zoom. So the zoom in is Option key, Command key plus your plus sign. And then to zoom out, you would hit your Option key, hold down your Option key, Command key, and hit the minus to zoom out. Another feature I like to use is the hover over text, which is great because if you have text on the screen that's kind of small, or if you want to direct your audience to a particular area of the text that you're covering, you can just hover over that text and it will make that text very large. So you don't have to rely, if you don't want to zoom in necessarily, there may be other aspects of the presentation that you may want to be shown. But if you just want to hover over that, if you want to get focus on that text, you can just select your Option key. And as you move your cursor to where the text is, it will make that text larger. So I'll demonstrate that. Okay, so let me share my screen. And I will start with the zoom function. So if I open up this document here, using my Option Command key and plus sign, I can just zoom in that text. And if you notice, if I have my cursor pointed to the record button, as I'm zooming in, it's going to focus your attention on where my cursor is. Or if I like to have you focus on just the instructions right up here, and I hit my Option key, Command key, hold that down, hit the plus sign. As I tap the plus sign, it's getting larger. And then if I hit the minus sign, it gets smaller. Now, if I zoom in and I hit my 8 key, now I can toggle between my zoom and my regular view. So I can go to my zoomed view or my regular view. Any questions about that?
Yeah, and Pat, while you were showing that, I couldn't see it zoom in or zoom out. It's just the image of the PDF.
Okay, hang on one second. Let me share. Let me share it one more time. How about now?
No, I just want to ask the group if you're seeing this as well. I see the yellow cursor.
See the zoom. I can see the cursor, but I can't see the zoom out.
Let me try another screen here.
Mhm.
Let's see. Can you see that zoom?
No, not for this one.
Interesting.
Not yet.
That is interesting. Let me see here. Let me try. Let's try this. See if this does anything. Still no zoom?
No, but are you seeing it from your end?
I am.
Okay.
No.
Okay, well, can we go back to the slide then, David?
Yep. No problem. Thank you for that, Pat. So I'll go ahead and reshare the screen.
Yep. Okay, well, we couldn't see the zoom features, but here is the commands on how to use that feature. Hopefully the trackpad option works. But I'm going to go over the hover over text feature, which you can do by simply holding down the command key and scrolling over some text, and I'll show you how that feature works in terms of optimization as well. So share my screen, David. Let's see. Okay. All right, are you able to see that text larger?
Yes, can see it.
Okay, you can. Okay, great.
Yeah, thank you.
As you can see, wherever I point my cursor to, if I hit the command key, it makes that text larger, and I can actually scroll through it.
Yeah, and when showing something, just like you're doing right now, if you're doing that for a live class, you're able to really focus in on a certain part of the text that you want the students to focus on or read.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I can just point that. I can, anywhere on the screen, I can point that and point my cursor to, and it will make that text larger. Now I can also customize this, and I will demonstrate that by going into Zoom. Let me minimize this screen. Going into Zoom, let's see. And if I select options here, right? And I can adjust the text size here. Right now it's at 60, but I can make it a lot bigger if I like. And you can see how instantly the text gets bigger. I want to take it back down to 60. I can adjust the text color, just black. I can also adjust the background, the border, so on and so forth. So as you can see, these aren't the best colors, but you can make adjustments to your liking. Any questions about that feature?
So the zoom in feature, because you are sharing it through Zoom, that's why it's not showing for us. But when I do try it on my end, the zoom in feature, it works really well. So that's really for your individual use case. If you want to zoom in on a part of the screen as you're reading the screen, that will show on your end, right? Your perspective.
Thank you, David.
Yep. But definitely that enable hover text is super, super helpful, especially when you are showing something live like you're doing right now.
Absolutely, David.
Yeah.
Okay. In the next slide, David.
Yep.
Display. Okay, so the next feature I like to go over, and is located right under the zoom feature, is the pointer. And again, if you're used to the PC language, we call it a cursor, but it's the same thing. So as you can see, my cursor, my pointer is already set to the colors that I like, but you can also adjust the size of it. So it kind of goes, so going back into directing your audience to particular content on the screen or where you would like for them to focus, adjusting, customizing your pointer is great. It's a great tool for that. So I'm going to demonstrate that very quickly. Let's see. Okay. Yeah. So we're already in accessibility. I'm going to select display and I'll select pointer. So if I want to, as you can see, if I want to adjust the size of my pointer, I would just select this dial right here, this slider. And as I move it to the right, it makes the cursor bigger. To the left, it just does the opposite. I can adjust the outline color. Right now, mine is black, but I can adjust that to any color that I choose. Same thing with the fill-in color. I can change that as well. Any questions about this? Are there any, I'd like to ask Dr. Kingberry, are there any colors besides the colors that I'm using that you think would be better, that would work better for a feature like this? If you don't mind coming off mute.
I would just say be careful with red. As you know, red triggers seizures. And for those that are colorblind, you just have to be sensitive to colors as well.
Thank you for that. Appreciate that. Anyone else have any questions? Okay. All right, David, move to the next slide. Okay, so the next, so one of the things that I've learned about the accessibility features is that some of them are also embedded in some of the other apps that you see here on the screen. Most of them are in the accessibility app, but some of them you may find in other areas. And one is the trackpad. So I'm going to share my screen again. And I use this feature quite a bit in trackpad. One thing I like about this particular customization is that as I am determining which feature I want to turn on, there's a video actually playing, giving me some sort of visual representation of what that feature is going to look like, how to use it, so on and so forth. So I don't typically use the natural scrolling feature, but I do like the zoom in and out feature of the trackpad on my MacBook. So to do that, I would just pinch with 2 fingers, smart zoom. I would just double tap. And I found that the smart zoom feature works best for pictures as opposed to text. Then of course we have the rotate feature. So let's, so there's a picture right here. So using my trackpad, let's see if this works. Does that zoom in, David?
Yeah, it does.
It does.
Perfect. Yeah.
Oh, great, great. Okay. And let's see. That's interesting. Does this zoom in?
No. Oh yeah, it's zooming in now.
It
Perfect.
does. Okay. All right.
Yep.
So it seems like, okay.
It might have been something with when you're sharing with Zoom.
You
Yeah,
know what
but
it is?
it works perfectly now.
You know what it is? So for the key for the shortcut keys, it's actually making the screen itself larger as opposed to the actual file.
Mhm.
So that's the difference. But when I'm using my trackpad, right, it's a lot smoother. So it's actually focused more on the file. So that's the difference.
And can you just go over real quick how to do that again on the trackpad?
Yes, so on the trackpad, let's go back. So again, when I open up the trackpad application, so I go back to it. This is system preferences. So I select trackpad and I go to scroll and zoom. As I use my cursor to move between the different features, it's actually, not only does it give me instructions, it says pinch with 2 fingers, but there's a visual representation of how to do that and what it looks like. So this is the zoom in and out feature. This is the smart zoom, which is a double tap with 2 fingers on the trackpad. And then there's the rotate feature, which I can use my 2 fingers to rotate. So I'm going to do that now. So here's the zoom in and out of the picture. And then I can rotate all around. Any questions about that? All right, David, next slide.
Excellent. And Pat, that was great. Are there any questions so far about what Pat covered before we move on, or anything to add? But yeah, Pat, that was great, because when you are presenting, if you really want to make a point or emphasize a certain aspect of a picture, let's say you're on a map and you want to show a specific part of the map, using that zoom function is wonderful.
Yep. And again, wherever your pointer is placed, that is the area where it's going to focus the zoom on. So you don't have to worry about moving the image or the document around. You just move your cursor there, and that's the area that it's going to focus on. So yep, I love it. Use it.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Pat.
Thank you.
So as we move on, I wanted to go over a couple key features, building upon what Pat just showed us, especially in regards to spoken text and speak selection. Using the Safari reader can really help both you and your students, and you can create PDFs you can export to Blackboard. Also saving text as an audio file and then uploading that to Blackboard. So you can imagine your students can see the text or the PDF on the screen in Blackboard, but also hear it at the same time. So some really cool features that are already built in, and I'll walk you through that. So first, I want to go over spoken text and speak selection. If you do have trouble reading text on your screen, you can have your Mac speak text whenever you press a keyboard shortcut. So the way that works is if you press the Option key and the Escape key, that will read the text on your screen. So let me show you that right now. And I have an article open up from Time magazine. As you can see, there are a bunch of different ads here. It's quite distracting, actually. So after this round, I'll show you how to get rid of that and how to open it up in reader mode. But as you can see on my screen, if I go ahead and do the Option key plus Escape key.
Sign in, subscribe for 99 cents. Spotlight story how Pete Arredondo went from UVALDE public servant.
So is everyone able to hear that?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Yeah, so that's a great screen reader or spoken text. And I just want to go over some of the other features here, and I'll just reshare my screen. So first one with the turtle, you can go ahead and decrease the speaking rate. That's the first one right here. You can also stop speak, you can go back, you can pause right here, and then you can also increase the speaking rate by clicking on that rabbit icon. If you do want to turn off that screen reader function, you can just go ahead and click on the X and it will stop. So again, I can go ahead and show you on this Time article. I'll just go ahead and resume it.
Pariah, sections, home, U.S., politics, world, health, climate, personal finance by.
And I will show you how to get rid of all of those extraneous different aspects of this website when you are doing this speak selection and spoken text. Now, going back to our PowerPoint, I do want to show you the next option here. So if you do want to change some of the features here, you can. So if you go to the accessibility feature in your settings, click on spoken content and then speak selection. If you click on options right here, you're able to change some of the options in terms of word color, sentence color, underlining, etc. You can also change the keyboard shortcut if you would like. So let me show you what that looks like live. I'm going to share my screen. And everyone should be able to see my desktop now. If I go to settings, I'll click on accessibility and then spoken content right here. And then you can see I can even change my system voice. There are many here. Speaking with Apple representatives, Alex is the most advanced voice that they have, but you can also choose any of those other voices right there. Let's say Nikki, for example, if I want to hear a sample.
Hello, my name is Nikki. I am an American English voice.
But just so you know, what has been recommended by the Apple representatives is Alex. We can also change the speaking rate and the volume. Speak selection, you can go ahead and click on that if it's not already clicked. If I click on options right here, you can see my keyboard shortcut to read any page is Option Escape. I can also do word color as pink, sentence color as yellow, etc. So these are some of the default options right here, but you are more than welcome to change any of these colors or options, right? Any questions about this that I can answer? Okay, great. So let's go back to this article. Another thing I do want to show is that you can choose an individual sentence or paragraph to have read out loud to you. So let me scroll down here and I'll go ahead and put it for this sentence right here. So if I go ahead and highlight that in blue and I right click on my mouse, I can do speech and then start speaking.
Few seem to explain what it is or exactly what they'll build. The executive class also appears to disagree over fundamental aspects of this new platform, including the criticality of virtual reality headsets, blockchains and crypto, as well as whether it's here now, might be soon, or is decades in the future.
So as you can see, what I did is I just highlighted right here what I wanted to have spoken aloud. I right clicked and then click on speech and then start speaking. Another thing you can do that can really help your students here is, let's say you want to have a word translated. If I have ESL learners in my classroom and we have the word metaverse here. So I can go ahead and highlight that word, right click. I can look up metaverse, which will give me the definition. A metaverse is a virtual reality space in which users can interact with the computer-generated environment and other users. I can also have that translated. So let's have that translated into Spanish. And I'll do translate. Is everyone able to see this?
Yes, Dave.
Okay, perfect, thank you. So I'll go ahead and have this translated from English, let's say, to Spanish.
Metaverso.
So it can go ahead and translate directly on the screen, just like you see here. So if you do have a text that's in a different language, for example, and you want to have that translated into English, that's all you have to do is just hover over that word, highlight it, right click, you can look it up, translate it, search with Google, you can copy, make a quick note, and what I showed you earlier is the start speaking.
Metaverse.
Metaverse, very cool. So let's go back to our PowerPoint. And I'll go over our next feature, especially with this very visually distracting article from Time.
We have
Not
metaverse.
going on.
Sorry.
Not going on.
A lot going on, right? So I definitely want to get rid of that. I don't want to just send that link to my students. It's very distracting. So this is a perfect segue now into the Safari Reader. So if you are using Safari as your browser for Mac, it really has a great built-in function that optimizes for easy reading. So you can view a web page or an article in one page, formatted for easy reading and presented without ads. This is key here. Navigation or other distracting items. You can also adjust font size, and background color for the reader. So if I go back to this Time article, let me just move this out of the way. So right here in my Time article, this is how the metaverse will shape our future. As you can see, there are a bunch of pop-ups, a bunch of ads here that I want to get rid of. So in the left corner right here, it's quite small. but right next to the web address bar, click on that. And that will open this up in the reader mode. And if I scroll down, as you can see, it takes out all the ads, it keeps the videos plus the pictures here. It makes it quite easy to read. So by default for me, I have it set to a black background and white text, but I can also change this. So right next to the address bar on the right side, you'll see two A's. If I click on that, I'm able to change the background. So let's do sepia right here. I can also change the font. So let's do San Francisco. And if I want to make it bigger, I just click on this big A on the right, or I can make it smaller and click on the left A right there. And as you can see, once I have that reader mode open, it's a lot less visually distracting than this regular web page. So I do this all the time. I also do it on my phone. If you are using Safari on your phone, you'll see that same little reader icon on the left side in the upper left corner. Click on that. That will make it very easy. Here's another tip. If an article is hidden behind a paywall, so New York Times does this, for instance, if you click on the reader function for that article, it will show you the article in full. So just another tip that I've learned by using the reader function. Now, another great thing here is I can go ahead and highlight here. I can right click, I can still do the speech.
The metaverse will reshape our lives. Let's make sure it's for the better.
So again, just to go over what I showed you, remember with the Safari reader, click on that little reader icon in your toolbar. That will format the page to be easily read and accessible. I'll also go over how to save this as a PDF in just a moment. Also, when you click on the two A's on the right side, you can do any of the following. You can choose a font size. You can choose a white, sepia, gray, or black background. You can also choose a different font. And the reader always shows you the last font size and background you chose. So when I open that, it was automatically that black background with the white text, which I really like to read with, but I can also change it. And another great thing here is I can save this as a PDF. So again, here's the original Time article with a bunch of different ads on the screen. I'll click on the reader function right here. I had a sepia background. I changed the font just a little bit, but it shows everything here that's included in the article. Now let's say I want to have this for my students. So if I just go to Safari and File, or Safari right here, or Edit. Oh yeah, right here. So File under Safari, you'll see right here it says Export as PDF. I'll go ahead and click on that. And what I'll do is I'll put this on my desktop so I can easily access it, how the metaverse will shape our lives, and I'll go ahead and save it. Now let me go ahead and open that PDF file so you can see. And just give me a second as I open that file. Of course, it's not opening now. So I will try that again, but when you do open that PDF file, it will work. So let me stop sharing. I'm just gonna try again.
No, I love how you were able to change the background color to that article, David. That's pretty amazing.
It's really cool. And again, like I use this all the time too. If something is hidden behind a paywall, it works really well, right? So you can go ahead and use that reader function to read the article, right?
Really nice, really nice.
So that PDF for me is not opening. Let me try one more time. I think I have so many windows open now, that's why. So again, I just want to show you here. I'm going to go ahead and download this and save it as a PDF. And I'll just put it under my downloads this time. And let me go ahead and find that.
While you're looking for that, David, I'll give you an opportunity to look for that. I'm just going to
thank you.
Really quickly go over again my screen how to access accessibility. So we go to our Apple icon, hit System Preferences, and then we can select accessibility here. But if you look here where it says Show Accessibility Status and Menu Bar, I have this selected. And when it's selected, if you look right up here, I know it's kind of small, but right up here is the accessibility icon. Okay, so if I click on that, now it's going to open up all of my accessibility shortcuts here. Okay, and so I can turn these off and on. So if I wanted to turn on, well, right now I have the zoom feature on, but if I wanted to turn on invert colors, I'll just select that. And now it's going to invert my colors. Can you see that, David? How inverted colors? Yes. So I can just turn that off. So this is just one way to access the shortcuts. And then I can also go back into preferences or the shortcuts here. I can also, while I'm in this accessibility screen, if I go to shortcut, I could actually decide which features I want to actually show up in the shortcut. So right now I have everything selected, okay? But you know, for the most part, I use zoom. So now that I've only have zoom selected, if I go to my icon here, now you only see that the zoom feature is present. Another thing that we can do in terms of ease of use and accessing this very quickly is we can go to our dock and menu bar. And if I scroll down here to where it says accessibility shortcuts, now I have the option of having the icon in my menu bar and control center, which is this icon here. Okay, and as you can see right down here is the accessibility shortcut. I click on that. Now I have access to my shortcuts. Very quick, very easy, and it saves a lot of time for you having to go through this method here. I can just go right to my menu bar and access my accessibility shortcuts. Very cool.
Excellent. Huh? Yeah, that's great. And that really makes it quite simple to access that really quickly. Thank you so much for showing that. That was a good little segue. So I did manage to get my PDF now. So thank you. So as you can see here, remember I went ahead and saved PDF by going to File and then Export as PDF. I can go ahead and show you what that looks like. It created a 17-page document, as you can see here. None of the ads, but it does have the illustrations here. So you can see that PDF on the screen. So really quite simple to use. And you can go ahead and very clean. You can upload this PDF directly to Blackboard as well. Yeah.
Nice.
So if I go back to the Safari page of time, two things I did want to just quickly go over again. Remember on this screen, so let me go ahead and go back to the reader function. If I press Option and Escape, this will read for me. So let me go ahead and try that out.
The metaverse will reshape our lives. Let's make sure it's for the better. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission reports that in the first 6 months of 2022, the word metaverse appeared in regulatory filings more than.
So as you can see here with the Option and Escape key, it is doing that screen reading for me. But let's say I want to save this entire page as an audio file that I can upload to Blackboard. So let's go over that. So I'll go ahead and exit out of the screen reader. Now, what I want to do is if I go and click on Edit and then select all, that will select this entire page. Now everything is highlighted here. Of course, you can go ahead and do it yourself just like this. But if I go to Edit, select all or Command plus A, that will select all the text on the screen for me. Now, next step is I right click and then you see speech, that's start speaking, which we went over before, but let's go to services. If I click on services, you'll see the first option is add to music as a spoken track. Let me click on that. And again, you'll see popping up, I can choose a system voice. There are many here. I'll keep it on Alex. I can save as, let's see, metaverse article. And I'll save that directly to my music folder. So let me press continue. So again, what I did is I did edit, select all text or Command A. I right clicked and then I did services, add to music as a spoken track. Now let's see how that sounds. I'll go ahead and open up my music folder. And it's saving now. Okay, perfect. So now it's saved. It took a little bit, but as you can see here, I have it under spoken text, and I'll go ahead and play it for us.
The metaverse will reshape our lives. Let's make sure it's for the better. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission reports that in the first 6 months.
So as you can see, you can take any article, especially from online, and if you don't want to read it yourself, you can have it saved as a spoken text audio file. Now, just to go over what that process was, remember that you can go ahead and select all text. And you can do that by hitting Command A or going to Edit and select all, and then right click and click on Services and then Add to Music as a spoken track. So now what I've done is I've opened up the Time article in the reader function. I've also modified how that looks like, and I saved it as a PDF. So I have the PDF file. And I've also saved this as a spoken track or an audio file of the actual article. So let's go ahead and upload this to Blackboard. So I'll go ahead and show you on my screen, Blackboard. And for the purposes of our exercise today, I'll go ahead and show you in my sandbox, right? So let me go ahead and create a content piece. I do want to include the article plus the audio file. So I'll go to Create and then Document. And let's do Time Metaverse article, right? And I'll start adding the content here, right? So let's do Add Content, and I'll add this as an attachment. So remember, I had that download of the Metaverse article.
Yep.
So let me find that, should be on my right here on the desktop. I'll go ahead and upload that. And then there's a new feature in Blackboard where you can have this viewed and downloaded. I'll show you what that looks like, but how the metaverse will shape our future from time. There's the PDF. I'll go ahead and click on Save. And I'll put some instructions. Please read the article below. The audio file is included as reference. And let me go ahead and put that as a heading. And then I want to also add the audio file here so you can go ahead and listen along. So same thing, I'll do attachment. It is under my music folder, under spoken text, and right here it says Metaverse article. Let me go ahead and upload that, the 24-minute file. And once this is done uploading, I'll show you how this looks like for students, where they can go ahead and view it and also listen to it at the same time. Okay, and I'll just go ahead and save that. Okay, so as you can see, both the PDF and the audio file are uploaded here. I'll click on Save. And let me go ahead and make this visible to students, and let's preview it as a student. Okay. So a really cool feature just using Safari, I'll click on this Time Metaverse article. And as you can see, one of the new features of Blackboard is that they can view this directly from within Blackboard. They don't have to click out. Of course, they can also download it if they like. And then let me go ahead and play the file right underneath at the same time.
The metaverse will reshape our lives. Let's make sure it's for the better. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission reports that in the first 6 months of 2022, the word metaverse appeared.
So a really cool feature here, right? So in a
Great.
quick amount of time, I was able to save the article as a PDF. I can go ahead and add the reference link as well. And then it's really easily readable without any ads here, but it does include the images from the article. And then I also saved this article text as an audio file, and then I uploaded that into Blackboard. So when we're thinking about accessibility and really helping all of our learners, this is a great way to do that, where they both have the article in easy to read form, as well as the audio file for that article. Are there any questions I can answer for this section? But really cool, right? So I'll go ahead and reshare. Thank you so much, John. So for accessibility support, I did include some of the accessibility outreach or the communication channels from Apple. The first one, this is 24/7 access and support. It's 1-877-204 3930, and also accessibility@apple.com. So they are quite responsive if you do have any other questions. If you do want us to go over anything, you can also send us an email, but you do have those two accessibility support channels right here on the screen. Now let's talk about next steps. I did want to open this up to the group, and with Pat and I, number one, what stood out to you about what we have covered today? Pat, do you want to start?
Sure. Well, I loved the fact that it didn't take long when you did the when you took the audio from the article and converted that to a audio file. You took the text from the article, converted that to an audio file. Said it was 24 minutes long. It didn't even take that long to do that. I think that's very, very unique and definitely helpful to have both the article and the audio in the same place within Blackboard.
And the great thing too about using the Mac is it's just synced up to my phone as well. So on my phone, I also have that same article, right? So I can go ahead and click it now. And I can also listen to it from my phone. So this is something that I've done a lot actually with articles or texts when maybe I'm too tired to read or I'm commuting in my car. I can go ahead and play that file just directly from my phone as well.
Nice.
Yep, and it's just right there. Right.
I love that.
And definitely what I really liked is when you showed the trackpad feature, Pat, of zooming in and out, especially when you are sharing something on the screen, that can make it really clear what you're focusing on.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
And and again, it's a lot smoother than the key shortcut keys I found. Yeah, and again, I use that feature all the time. So, yeah.
Anyone else from the group? Is there anything that stood out to you about what we covered today?
Well, just how customizable you were able to convert the file, the articles into audio, and I'm also thinking for learning purposes, also how this can be used. I saw how you also posted it in different forms, the article on Blackboard, how this also can be helpful for learning purposes, whether teaching or, placing resources and materials on Blackboard in a customizable or in different forms for the teachers, instructors, or also even for students when submitting projects in various forms there on Blackboard.
Yeah, and John, since you are a student, how would this help if your professor did this, provided the article in an easy to read format and also the audio file?
Well, assuming nowadays, especially with most classes being, imperfects or online classes, we've had instances whereby students, maybe due to one thing or another, are not able to attend the classes at that time, or even taking classes, maybe even while driving. So I'm assuming if maybe it's an article or maybe a student is not able to read the article at that time, if maybe it's posted in an audio, maybe, audio form, they can listen to this while they are, doing things at home or maybe driving, or even maybe catch up, or even for revision purposes. Especially nowadays, with our generation, some students would want to access more audio tools and listen rather than, reading it. So I think that can be quite helpful.
Yeah, definitely. And if we think about the way that we can take a text from a class and maybe we don't have time to read it, but we can listen to it, especially let's say if we're working out, commuting, things like that, that can really save time, but it's also another way to learn that content rather than just reading it.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Almost like a, podcasts are very popular, especially during the pandemic. I read that, the amount of consumption of podcasts increased during the pandemic. So it's almost like listening to a podcast if you think about it.
Yep.
Exactly.
And you can create your own playlist, right? Let's say this week I have 5 readings. I can convert them as a student or as the professor, offer those audio files and then listen to it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep.
Create your own playlist within the music app.
Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That's awesome.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Pat.
Yeah, thank you, John.
Pat and John, what did you see and or experience that changed your thinking about accessibility, or what tools did we use today that could make the courses you are working on more accessible? And then we'll leave those as our final thoughts.
I think one thing that just stood out to me overall is just the amount of things that you can do on a Mac. If you don't really dive into some of these features, because there's a lot of them. I mean, we just barely scraped the surface as to what you can do. Even with the Zoom feature, there's a lot of functionality within the Zoom that I didn't even go over. But this is a great overview. So I would say just being able to get a nice overview and dive into some of those features that are not as obvious. Because even with the reader in Safari, I heard about that feature, but seeing you go through it, but was definitely very helpful. And it just, like I said, it just reconfirms that, hey, I have a lot of functionality in front of me. I just need to dig deeper and take some time to actually get to know the device so I can get the most value. So get a good return on my investment. In other words, David.
Oh, definitely.
Or our investment.
I think that's key here. And Pat, as you and I work together, even to put this PowerPoint together, we learn from each other, right? Some of these features and how we can best use them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Even the just the pointer feature. I actually learned that from you. I had no idea. Had no idea about its functionality of making it bigger, changing the colors. So yes, we definitely learn from each other. Yep,
definitely. And I do want to just point out, Apple has a great website that goes over all of their accessibility features. I put it in the chat box, apple.com/accessibility. And this will go over some different functions that they offer. But what I like about their website in particular, and for example, Pat went over the Zoom function today. If I click on the plus sign, it will go over how to set this up on iPhone, iPad, Mac, Apple Watch, even the iPod Touch. So this will go over in detail how to use these for all different kinds of Apple hardware products as well.
Yep.
Excellent. So with that, I do want to thank everyone for joining us today. We do hope that you learned something, especially in regards to how you can make your courses more accessible. And these can be simple, quick switches or quick fixes. It doesn't have to be something in depth, but remember, once you do that, that really makes learning accessible for all. Any final thoughts, Pat?
No. Thank everyone for joining, and we hope this will be beneficial to you and your students.
Yep, and we are hoping that within the next couple of months, we are going to offer a Microsoft version of this for everyone. So that would be a great function as well.
Absolutely, looking forward to that as well.
So thank you everyone for joining. We hope you have a great afternoon and stay safe. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for joining. Bye-bye.